Okay, this is Unit 6. Next up, we're talking about chemical formulas. And specifically, we're talking about covalent compounds. Really, these chemical formulas work the same way as any other chemical formula that we've learned about so far. So the molecular formula of a compound will tell us the same information as the chemical name. The formula tells us the identity of all the elements involved, and it tells us the quantity, just like in the chemical name. So we get both pieces of information in both the chemical formula and the chemical name when it comes to molecules, covalent compounds. So molecular formula is going to use the atomic symbol from the periodic table to identify the element. The quantity of each element is indicated by the subscript that follows the atomic symbol. The molecular formula is useful because it requires less space than the name. It's just in general easier to read. And when we talk about chemical reactions, we want to be using chemical formulas. Really don't want to be using the names because they just take up too much space. So when we get a name, in general, we want to change it to the chemical formula. So the first one, sulfur hexafluoride. So remember, we're using prefixes to tell us how many of each atom is present. And we're also keeping the order the same. So sulfur comes first in the name, it comes first in the formula. So sulfur is S. If you're not sure, use your periodic table. And sulfur has no prefix. And remember, when it comes to chemical formulas, chemical names, if the first element would have the prefix mono, we just leave it off. So I'm going to remove this. So there's the sulfur and hexafluoride. So we've got this suffix IDE. This is really the root right here. Fluoride, fluorine. And hexa, if you look back on the previous page, tells you that it is 6. So how about one like dihydrogen monoselenide? So the prefix di means 2, and we have the element hydrogen. So that tells me we have 2 hydrogens in this molecule. The next element, selenide or selenium, that's Se, and mono means 1. So the atomic symbol here implies that we have 1, so we're not going to put a subscript. So just H2Se is our chemical formula. Here is carbon tetrabromide. Carbon without a prefix, just 1. Tetra means 4. Bromide is bromine, Br. So we have CBr4. A few others. Dinitrogen monoxide. Dinitrogen tells me 2 nitrogens, and monoxide means 1 oxygen. next one, selenium trioxide. So no prefix for the selenium, just Se. And then trioxide tells me O3. Something that you may notice here is that in this compound, selenium comes first, and in this compound, selenium comes second. Since we're talking about all of these being nonmetals, the order is important, but the elements are not always first and they're not always second. And the quick explanation is whichever element is more to the left or the bottom of the periodic table comes first. So for instance, hydrogen's on the left, selenium's on the right. Selenium comes last. Remember, we're reading left to right on the periodic table, just like we did in the previous unit. Carbon tetrabromide. Carbon is more to the left. Dinitrogen monoxide. Nitrogen is to the left of oxygen. Selenium trioxide. Now they're in the same group, but selenium is more towards the bottom and oxygen is more towards the top right. And this will make more sense really when we talk about the next section, which is electronegativity. So this next one, phosphorus trihydride. Phosphorus does not have a prefix, and so that means just one phosphorus. And trihydride means 3 hydrogens, H3. Now this one kind of breaks with the rules of things on the left go first, but hydrogen is a really weird case. If you didn't know any better and you told me it was H3P and you didn't have access to the name, it would probably be okay. One other note, these are using a specific naming system. If you were to Google these, like if you Google PH3, it's probably not going to tell you phosphorus trihydride. It'll probably give you a different name from a different naming system. It would probably be something like phosphine, which I don't expect you to remember. I don't expect you to use other naming systems. Anything that we do in this unit should fall in this naming system. So just be careful, make sure that you are using this system and not accidentally using a different system from the internet.